So you lived around the world.
A little bit.
What does Christmas look like around the world?
I think my first memories of Christmas maybe were when I lived in Zambia. And I went to an American international school, so I kind of had interacted with my first American student, like other American students and British students and like things like that. First real experience, my first real memory with like the Christianity or Catholicism was in Atlanta, where I started to meet friends that were extremely religious or came from extremely religious families. Not that my family isn't religious, my family's fairly religious as well. And Christmas, I don't know, it's to one end it is this hugely commodified capitalistic thing. But also the spirit of Christmas, or the spirit of Christmas, since it's this Tuba Christmas, I think it's a giving spirit, and it's a welcoming spirit, and it's a compassionate thing. And as a teacher and as an educator, just seeing this year that we need more of that in this world. We just need a lot more of it everywhere. So Christmas around the world, I think people do connect with that spirit. There are also other festivals and annual celebrations that happen and coincide around the same time frame, where similar things are celebrated. It's just this atmosphere of celebrating where you are, where you've come, and what you have looking forward, or what you were trying to look forward to.
I wonder if it's natural though.
I don't know. I don't think that Christmas itself is natural. I remember first time I stayed over at a Catholic friend's place over the weekend. Saturday night, family wanted to go to church before dropping me off in the morning. And yeah, that's fine. I've been to many churches and temples before. And at the end of, or in the middle of the service, there came a moment where there was, people could walk up to the front and convert. And the father of this friend leaned over to me and said, you know, if you wanted to, you could go down there. I'm a child. But I just kind of, I looked over at him and I was like, no, I'm good. You know, at the time I was still, not that I'm not, but I'm still Hindu. And was in the culture of that with my parents. Especially like moving around when you're stripped away from familial roots, or not stripped away, but you just don't, it's not the same when you're not around them all the time, and like, you're not living in the same city or the same even neighborhood as them. And then take into account that you see them every few months to every few years to every 7 years. The last trip I took was last summer, and it had been 7 years before that I'd been.
Wow.
That's, yeah, it shapes your experience a little bit, but I don't know if it's universal. You know, everyone has their own experiences, and this, but the underlying aspects of it all, I think, can be similar. If we choose to see similarities rather than differences, that is.
Wow. So what do you think, or what do you feel has been the most challenging part of being away from your parents? Besides missing them, you know?
Yeah. It's, well, I've lived outside of my house since I was 17 years old. I've learned to be independent, but I've also learned over time that my parents are what formed me, and I feel better when I have a stronger relationship with them, and I am very grateful for that. I know a lot of people don't have that, and I can talk to them about anything really. Plus, they were kind of, what's the term? Dark horse? Black horse?
What do you mean?
Like the... What am I trying to think of?
I can't help you with this one, part.
I would say they were kind of pioneers in their own right. And they chose a path that wasn't traditional, and then allowed me with my own opportunities and experiences around the world, and different education, different connection to different cultures, upbringings. They let me be who I want to be, and they helped me figure that out. And sure, was it always smooth sailing? No, no parent and student, and I just said student, parent and child.
It really is parent and student.
Yeah, it is parent and student for a while, and still is.
For life,
They school me every day. But yeah, it's a special relationship, and I look forward to being able to visit them again. It's been now a year since I've seen them.
It's kind of interesting how Christmas is kind of targeted to parents, and how it's served as a way for, you know, kids around the world to like find appreciation for their elders and family.
It's a time for reflection, I think, and it's a time for time for looking at your roots, and that is your parents, that is your grandparents, and then generations before them. It is your teachers and your teachers' teachers. It's the influence of how we interact with each other over time. How certain relationships can push people apart, and certain relationships can bring people together. And I think it's a great time to reflect on that when a lot of the world is going into sort of this like hibernation reflective zone. It coincides with like what, New Year's a few days later, which is another whole thing, but another point to just reset. Even if it might be this arbitrary time, it can be valuable if you reflect on it.
So what kind of music would they have been playing? Right? Because we've been having protests clearly throughout all of modern history.
I think drums for sure.
Drums for sure?
Drums for sure. Come on.
You think they had tubas?
No.
No sousaphone?
No.
Well, they couldn't have had a sousaphone.
No.
But they had to have
Too
something
early.
that they, you know...
Way too early for brass.
Way too early for sousaphone. But they had to have something. What was the rhythm like?
Conch
you know,
shell?
like,
Conch shells?
conch shells.
Whistles, or like loud percussive things like that. I think also just the vocal tradition of humanity was stronger in the past than it is now. I mean, people just sing. People would just they would they would interact a lot more with their voices than maybe they do now.
But we're chanting.
Yeah, we're chanting. I guess it's a direct
singing.
relation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I'm sure chanting was a part of it.
Right. But you know, songs are just chants with melodies, you know. It was an interesting time. It's interesting to see that, like, we've been going through this for so long, and now we're trying to find and add our own musical voice to something that's been happening for so many years.
I'm excited by it. It's been, I don't know, it's the first time in a while I've felt like I'm participating in something where I get to play a part in something much bigger. but my individual voice still gets heard.
But with 3 tubas?
I don't know, 3 tubas?
It's real nice to hear that.
3 tubas is a special thing. The other two on the you know, the other two in the group, Chrisjovan, Masso, and Hellevik, they both currently go to DePaul University. That's how I met them. They started their degrees right after I graduated. And, you know, thinking about time for reflection, like, I got to study with Floyd Cooley when I was in DePaul. Floyd Cooley played in San Francisco Symphony for a bit. He got the job when he was like 20, 21. And eventually did some other stuff. You know, I mean, did a lot of stuff. He recorded Jabba the Hutt for Star Wars, for Skywalker Studios. And then he was in Chicago. He was studying with Donald Jacobs, and he's just a living legend. He eventually moved to Chicago, played for a season with the CSO, and then eventually got hired at DePaul. Has been teaching there and just cranking out some of the best tuba players in the world. And to be a part of that legacy, especially as like it might be starting to wane, it's the last few years, and of at least active teaching, you know, he's earned his retirement at this point. He's worked his butt off. I don't think teaching will ever leave him, but with Jake and Chrisjovan, they've gotten some of that last taste, like I did, and it's just really special when we can all communicate at a level with our sound and interact in a way that we can just blend, and we know what we're going for, and we know how to make space for each other because we know how to do that on our own. Floyd taught us, and it continues to school us on mastery of sound control. It's not, and it's all in service of music. It's all in service of your musical intent in line.
But they're both also just really good,
really
nice
good
people
yeah.
too. I wonder if they weren't, if it would be a different performance experience.
It definitely helps that the two of them are both great friends individually, and I have great friendships with both of them. You know, I met Chrisjovan when he was a senior in high school, when I was starting to take over stuff, and like, or not take over, I shouldn't say that, but when I started to teach at Merit, and then he got into DePaul, and I mean, my first impression of him was, well, that's a real tuba player, and I could hang out with him and do anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
It's nice to play with people you like.
Plus, we've just spent, both of us and them together, like it's just the trio and other people in the studio too, the other people in this town. There's so many tuba players that I've just spent countless hours in a room with, playing for each other, critiquing each other, playing duets, playing music together, sharing our ideas and concepts. And in that way, Chicago's La Brass scene is extremely special. There's a gem here. Not that it doesn't exist in other cities, but I think it's pretty special here.
Wow. How do you think your experiences with your teachers inform your teaching?
I had to learn to calm down. I had to learn to pace myself so that I could succeed, so that I wouldn't burn out. Because I burnt out a few times. And they taught me patience, especially now that I'm starting to work on similar issues that I distinctly remember, and I still revisit lesson recordings of from freshman year or from a festival here or there. And it's illuminating how much patience they had with me, and I didn't even notice because of the way they treated me through the experience of learning. They figured out how I was going to deal with it, and they helped me through that process without getting in the way.
You know, it's really interesting to conceptualize Christmas as something that's not religious.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to do a Christmas concert?
Because Tuba Christmas is a special thing.
Mm.
It's this goofy thing that, you know, exists in town. There's a massive one in Chicago every year, and they're all across the world. I just wanted to do a little bit, just to add to it, to keep it going, because I know that there's definitely a lot of people that would be doing that right now. You know, that would have been happening this week or next week, all across the world. And there's been a ton of videos and a ton of other things on social media and these multi-tracks that have been popping up all over. And so I just felt, I don't know, I felt compelled to add to it a little bit. I also, you know, last year was my first time putting together a Tuba Christmas at one of the schools I teach at. and it's an annual thing. I was looking forward to being able to do it. It's a cool, it's a cool way to get engagement, community engagement across the board, and I don't know, it's just a special time. The music's fun, it's cheery.
Now, what's really the difference between the tuba and the sousaphone?
What's really the difference between the two?
For the regular person.
For the regular person.
Besides the shape, I guess.
The sousaphone is a magical creature. And the tuba is like the old janitor that lives in the basement of the whatever. No.
Some would say the janitor is also a magical creature.
Oh yeah, they're both magical creatures for sure. The janitor is just not like flashy about it.
That's a nice one. I like that one.
For an actual answer, the sousaphone was built because in Sousa's band they needed something with a frontward facing bell so that the sound could carry over the band and over fields and on outdoor kind of auditoriums and spaces that they would play. They would tour the country. And it kind of also, you know, I think the frontward facing bell aspect of it is also part of like recording bells, where you can see some older tubas have a frontward facing bell, but they look like regular tubas. That was also to help facilitate recording aspects of it. I think part of why the sousaphone is this like kind of funny creature is it is goofy in nature. It's this weird, funky, kind of off sound all the time. But it's also a bass instrument, and then it's just like you're wearing it, and it's just massive. The tuba it's not necessarily always a more refined instrument, but for instance, with my two instruments, the sousaphone that I play for when we're out in the streets and playing events, and the tubas that I play in chamber groups and orchestras, they exist in different roles a little bit. And while the sousaphone lets me get the character that I don't necessarily always get on a tuba, on an orchestral C tuba, the C tuba will always give me that different sound and the sound concept that I'm chasing. And the sousaphone, in a way, it's just a different sound. It's a different creature. It's a different role. Not that it can't do the same things. It's the same range. It's the same facility. It has a different tone color. It has a different texture. Sure. Can it do all the same things? Yeah.
Imagine hearing a sousaphone in a war, though.
That would be epic.
I wonder if that's what it was really made for.
Maybe.
Man. Well, I don't know. How often do you really see, groups of tubas playing in...
Not very often.
Yeah.
It's not really a thing. For tuba players, it's like kind of always a thing, because we like playing music together and each other.
Who's writing it?
A lot of tuba players. A lot of people arranging it for themselves, or arranging it for groups. Like there's this great tuba quartet, plus kind of like drums and some other stuff in Philly, led by kind of Carol Yonch, who's the principal tuba player of the orchestra. And it's really interesting to me to see her at a very young age getting a great job, and deservingly so. And now also finding ways to experiment and find other things that bring her career joy. And it's not always going to be that steadfast thing.
Well, what do you want to do?
A lot of things. I don't know. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that I leave the world better than I came into it as. I don't really know what that looks like, but I try to live like that. That I have an influence, or that I have any influence. And I think it in the long run, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a performer. I want to be known as a musician, but I also run for political office one day. I want to be able to vote. I haven't been able to vote in my adult life because of various different immigration things. I've never had status in a country that can allow me to vote. 28 years old. And I'm in the Chicago Freedom Ensemble. And that's infuriating to me, you know? I want to live in that future. I'm going to get there soon. I want to redesign education formatting and like how we teach our students, how we teach the students in not just Chicago but around the world. I'd love to start an orchestra one day.
It'd be crazy. What if it was just a tuba orchestra?
That'd be out.
Tuba, sousaphones, euphoniums.
Alright.
That'd
Sure.
be crazy.
Let's do it.
But would they call it a choir or orchestra?
It'd be a choir.
Yeah, I guess. I don't like that.
Tuba euphonium ensemble is a thing.
Well, Akshat, what Christmas joy that is. It was such a pleasure watching you and being a part of that show, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you since, what is it now, like 9 months ago?
9 months.
Maybe not, maybe more like...
It feels like I've known you for a lifetime.
Yeah, let me be exact. We can be exact. It was 7 months ago.
7 months ago. Feels like a lifetime.
It feels like a lifetime. That's crazy. That's been a general vibe in this band. I'm looking forward to the future. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram. It's nothing special, but it's Jain Tuba, Jain Tuba, and you can find me at the Merit School of Music website. You can find other information about me at originbrass.com.
Well, thank you, Akshat, and enjoy this last song.